In today's podcast of Data for All, GPT-4. Welcome to the Data for All podcast. I'm Charlie Yilden.
And I'm Charlie Pegan, where we want to empower you to think different with data.
And so today we're talking about GPT-4, and it feels like we just left the studio talking about ChatGPT 3.5, and then ChatGPT 4.0 came out, except for it's not ChatGPT 4.0, it's GPT-4, and I'm confused. Can you help me out with that?
Yeah, I guess so. And we'll go right into today because I think today is one of those episodes where we literally just did AI and ChatGPT as an episode with Paul Vinton and talked about the ramifications, where we see the future. Should we be scared today? What are those major opportunities? One thing that really resonated with me when he was talking was he said within the next 6 months, things are going to be drastically different.
Yeah.
And it was like I was thinking 2 years, 5 years.
We were both settled on a year. Things would be a lot different. And he kept on insisting it's like 6 months. You got 6 months.
Then we leave the studio and a week, 2 weeks later, GPT-4 comes out.
Yeah, we basically walked right back in to talk about the same topic.
I know. And I think it's important to do it. And here's the reason why. We are all confused, aren't we? Like, what is really AI? What is ChatGPT? What is GPT? By the way, they're different.
Yeah, that's where I'm stuck. And so I need help with that.
Okay, so if we go back to what we talked about in episode, the previous episode, that was what, 15? Oh gosh,
I have no idea.
I'm already forgetting. I need ChatGPT to help me with that. But we talked about GPT. I'm going to our notes here. Where's our good old? I'm going to previous notes, folks, in front of you on the fly, and that is not good because I'm also trying to read through my little screen that I don't pop.
You do that, and I'll tell everybody about something that's changed between our conversation with 3.5 and 4.0.
Okay, yeah.
And that's that we both have subscriptions now.
We do. Yep. Yeah, we went in and so it's $20 a month, right?
$20 a month for a lot of power.
It is a lot of power, and okay, I found where I was looking for in the notes.
Okay.
So we're good. So ChatGPT. If you say to anybody, "What is AI today?" they're probably going to say ChatGPT. I'm going to ChatGPT it, right?
Yep.
What is ChatGPT? What is GPT-4 compared to ChatGPT? So that's what I want to just make. Let's set that right now. And I think the only way I can really talk about this, Charlie, is in things I know really well. And being a Detroiter, I'm a car guy.
Okay.
And when I think about cars, I think about, you have an engine and then you have the car that goes around it, right?
Okay.
You don't have a car that moves without an engine. And ChatGPT is not the engine.
Okay.
GPT is. So Generative Pretrained Transformers are used to move or to be the engine for ChatGPT. Okay, so GPT, a Generative Pretrained Transformer, which when we last talked was at 3.5 was the version. So think of that as that's the brand of the engine at that point.
Right.
It's GPT 3.5.
And to set context, though, like we're talking about ChatGPT 3.5, which is a brand new sports car that everybody is excited about.
Yes, and everybody got to test drive it if you wanted to. But if you wanted to play with the new version that came out after we last talked, GPT-4, you had to buy the actual sports car.
It feels like an intentional strategy now that you pointed out like that.
You're going to notice a lot of things in the AI space is going to be free in the beginning. Then there's going to be the freemium, right? Which you can get some things for free, but then you can also pay for additional things. The biggest reason for that, there's a lot of things. And I don't want to go off too much without explaining, but the truth is they need you to get in there and play for AI to work because data equals better use cases, and also a better model.
That's a good point. I do want to come back to that later, but so you're right in the middle of a brand new car analogy.
So the point of GPT-4 is you are creating the engine that allows you to create applications, a car.
So when you say
this case.
GPT-4, though, you're not talking about ChatGPT-4.
Nope.
You're talking about a standalone product called GPT-4.
OpenAI created GPT, and that goes back to what? 2018 was the original genesis of that engine. Think of it as an engine. It was created, and then they had to figure out how to create the sports car. They came out with ChatGPT, in November of last year?
I'm not really sure.
Whenever it came out, that was the first car that they created for their engine. Another, so the algorithm or the model that they've used, you then have to create tools to be able to use that. And that's what ChatGPT is.
Okay.
That's also what DALL-E is. So DALL-E is another product of OpenAI that happens to use their engine of GPT.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
It does. So you're basically what you're saying in the car analogy is that GPT makes it run, and then DALL-E and Chat GPT are just the UIs around it.
Yep. Yeah, those are the applications that they have created. And by the way, there's other people that have created things. You can have access to GPT-4, 3.5, and 3. And again, right now, the ones that you'll see out there are going to be GPT-3, usually 3.5, and then 4. So that's why we're using those numbers. But Jasper is a great example. Jasper.ai is one of those things that's out there. It allows you to create copy really well. Copy as in marketing materials, long form essays.
Sure.
So more than what you'd get out of a chat bot. Remember, ChatGPT is meant to be a chatbot style application. Jasper takes it to another level. What is it using as its engine is GPT.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if it's 3.5, I'm assuming, 3 weeks ago, it was 3.5 for sure. And they're probably now using 4 because I don't know if there's a huge difference in terms of pointing from 3.5 to 4 other than performance. I don't know, to be honest.
You actually lose performance. Like you lose time.
Yeah.
When you upgrade and stuff, but there are lots of reasons to switch, and that's why I put $20 in. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. So what is the big difference between 3.5 and 4, Charlie? What are some of those differences?
So the biggest thing is that it's smarter. So we talked last time with Paul about jailbreaking. And getting past certain situations with correct prompts and things. And so this is from OpenAI, and so I assume it's based in actual data. But they're talking about it's 4 is 82% less likely to respond to requests for disallowed content, which is like get Dan to tell me how to do something that you can't do and get the 2 outputs and whatnot. So they close some of those doors, which is natural. It's like I'm sure they were specifically going for that. Yeah. And then it's 40% more likely to produce factual responses. So that just means it's wrong less often.
Gotcha. And I was listening to an interview with the CEO from OpenAI, and one thing that really resonated well with me, and it goes back to the engine analogy, is GPT is a reasoning engine. So it only can come up with answers or reason based on what data is available to them.
So let me keep going then because we're about to blow the doors off of that.
I know.
So about it being smarter though, so 3.5 GPT 3.5 since that's the engine that's actually doing the work. That we'll just talk about GPT instead of saying ChatGPT all the time, just to keep it simple.
GPT.
So GPT 3.5 got the 10th percentile in the uniform bar exam, which is just, it's a test to become a lawyer in different states, but there's states differ. And so the uniform was like, everybody's got at least this.
Okay. And by the way, I don't assume people know what percentile means.
Okay. So 10th percentile is very low.
That means you are ahead of 10% of the people that take it. Exactly.
Okay. If you've ever done anything that's percentiles before, 100th percentile is great.
Yes,
is the best.
That means you're better than everybody.
And then, I guess there's a 0, or maybe it's just a 1. It wouldn't bottom out with 0, would it? It doesn't matter. It got in the 10th percentile before, so 90% of the people who took the test were doing better. After it got 90th percentile, so it went from being in the bottom 10th percent to the top 10th percent.
Wow!
Just in this change, and then the biology Olympiad, which is it's another test. I had to look it up because I had no idea what it was. Before it got in the 31st, or 3.5 got in the 31st percentile, and 4 got 99th percentile.
Wow. And so what you're saying is, of course, the smarter is that it's using data, probably more data, but it also has a better reasoning engine behind it to be able to synthesize it down into correct answers.
Yeah, it has the ability to determine context in a way that 3.5 couldn't. And so it's a lot better to answer in standardized questions and whatnot.
Wow.
So it can take, since we're on that subject and whatnot, it can look at a series of images and get a joke. So some memes are just pictures, and there was an iPhone with a VGA cable plugged into it, and I didn't even get the joke. I still don't know what the joke meant, but apparently GPT-4 got the joke just from the context in the images, which is crazy to think about. And I guess since I said that, GPT-4 is multimodal.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd go there next, which multimodal means I can give it a picture and text at the same time.
Yeah, you can give it a picture, you can give it text, you can upload a data set, you can do lots of different things with it.
Okay,
and
now
interact.
You can't do that right now in ChatGPT, or at least my version.
3.5? Oh, so we'll get to that. They are doing a soft rollout with plugins, and
correct.
There are 2 plugins that OpenAI is. We'll get to it.
But if I was to go right now into ChatGPT, there is no place for me to upload a image that I know of.
That you have. Other people have it.
Yes,
so some people have it right now, and it's coming to everybody over time, but you have to have a premium subscription to get there as of this point.
Gotcha.
But there's Apple kind of does the same thing. They're not trying to overstress those extra features on the front end, so it makes sense to just roll it out on a schedule.
Yeah, so I think the use cases I'm seeing a lot of people use it right now is taking pictures of your pantry and then asking what recipe can it come up with based on what's in your pantry.
I love that. That's one of my favorite things, and we'll get to talking about that because I want to hear your specific thoughts on all that effort you put into keeping up with that stuff for years, and now you're at a point where you can literally just take a picture of your food and it'll tell you everything about it.
Well, we are at an inflection point. We are at a point where we have to think different about our use cases. And, gosh, I was even thinking of silly things on the way over. And I used to spend 4 hours writing checks every month. I don't write a check anymore. Everything's automated. Am I mad that I got those 4 hours back in my life? Why are we so mad that AI is giving us time back in our lives?
Well, that's why we're talking about it, is because we need to dispel the notion that this is bad. I was talking to somebody yesterday who was not excited about it in the least because they weren't paying attention to it and it scared them.
Yeah. Okay. What are some other things that goes from 3 to 3.5 to 4? We're really talking about 3.5 to 4. Is there anything else that?
Yeah. So there's one thing I want to. It's way better at prompt, taking prompts and doing stuff with it off the initial prompt. So one of the things we talked about last time was revisioneering, and so 4 takes it to a place to where you can get a lot further just off of a general prompt. And so I did a test between the 2, and I said, write a sentence summarizing the importance of data where each word has to begin with the next letter of the alphabet from A to Z with no repeats.
Oh my.
So 3.5, and so let me get a drink of water because these are going to be tongue twisters.
Oh, yeah, I see them on here. That's
okay. So GPT 3.5, this was actually ChatGPT 3.5.
Yes. Okay.
And this is its.
Wait, let's change that.
Okay.
So that's ChatGPT using the 3.5 engine.
Yes.
And then you also have ChatGPT using the the GPT-4 engine.
Yeah, so the first one I'm about to read is
Okay.
3.5.
There we go.
And so it's trying to make a sentence with 26 words where every letter begins with the next letter of the alphabet.
Okay.
And so 3.5 said, analyzing big data creates endless opportunities for future growth, highlighting its invaluable job-keeping knowledge lively, which is not even close to what I wanted.
It's got two I's in there. And did it stop at lively so it didn't keep going?
It didn't even do anything. Like it's the first three words are analyzing big data. So it missed C, but then the next word is
I
create.
didn't even see that part. And then opportunities.
It didn't even come
two
close.
F's. And okay. All right, what is 4? Come on, 4.
Right. I need another drink of water because this
one is long. Yes.
This one is there's a hip hop band called Blackalicious that did a hip hop song where they go ascending alphabet through the whole thing, and it's amazing. And it's a tongue twister.
Oh, all right. He's preparing, folks. He's taking the big sip right now, and he's ready to give us the GPT-4 version of what is the prompt again?
It's write a sentence about the importance of data, starting with the letter A at the beginning of the first word, and go to Z. No repeats.
No repeats. Okay.
But in order too.
Here we go for 4.
So GPT-4 said, analyzing big, comprehensive data effectively fosters greater holistic insights, justifying knowledgeable leaps, making novel optimizations possible, qualifying results, systematically transforming understanding, validating wiser Xenial yield zones.
Wow. And by the way, it was quantifying results. I see that you said qualifying. So,
did I say?
So
my bad.
GPT-4 might be better than Charlie Y4 here. That was a terrible joke. Sorry about that. I tried.
You got to take a swing and a miss every now and again.
I'm just not the next ChatGPT. That is pretty astounding to think about that. That to me is an improvement in reasoning.
Yeah. For sure.
And I think that's amazing.
Wow. So one of the things you pay for with this increase in accuracy is time. And so on the OpenAI site, they've got a 1 through 5 scale of speed, accuracy, and then there's one other one. But speed on 3.5 is a 5 out of 5, and speed on 4 is a 2. And so I haven't noticed anything smaller, but I haven't asked you for anything big.
Yeah.
Because now one of the other things is you can go from about 3,000 word responses with 3.5, and then 4 has 25,000 words.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so I want to talk about the potential impact of that real quick.
Wait, 25,000?
25,000 words in a single response.
So what would that
Or from a
be
single
in a
prompt.
Word doc? I can't think about what a Word doc, single spaced.
I think
is there a way I could do that?
Books typically have 500 words per page.
Okay.
And so if you can think about it in that kind of context.
You said 25,000.
25,000.
So we're talking 50 pages.
There are entire books that are less than 25,000 words.
Yeah, because 50 pages is what the limit now is. You can write a 50-page book, is what you just said, in ChatGPT with GPT-4.
Potentially from one prompt, from one simple prompt. But I imagine that if you had, like, say you have a bunch of notes on a book you want to write, and you have it all chaptered out, you can say, write a chapter about this, and then throw in all of that information, and then it'll just put it together for you. So you could, like, I feel like, and this is crazy to me, that somebody could write a book overnight with bare notes. At least get a rough draft knocked out.
That's unbelievable. And I'm wondering, because I keep thinking, one day am I going to write the book on, the data mindset and this, and I'm like, I have to start the first chapter with how much I either used or did not use an AI instrument. Because it doesn't have to be ChatGPT. I mean, I could use Jasper. I could use all these other ones that are out.
Do you have that in note form? Do you have book stuff in note? Like, do you have notes on what you want to do as far as books go?
To write a book? Not really.
Okay. I do. And so what I want to do to start with is I want to take it all, and I'm going to say, write an introductory chapter on all of this information.
See, I could take all of my notes from like classwork stuff and all of my outlines, and I could throw that in.
Yeah, because that's one of the things about the image processing is that it can take an image that you show it, read everything on it, and then you never have to type anything in. So if you love handwriting, you can just feed your handwriting to GPT, and it sorts it out for you.
Yeah.
So that lady, you remember that lady I was talking about who year over year.
Analog lady, right?
Yeah. She had the best process, but it was analog. She can now give GPT all of those pages and then just have one big searchable file.
Do you realize how many companies are freaking out because that's their business?
Yeah. Well, so every
multi-million-dollar business. No, I mean, it's unbelievable to think about. I know one company in particular, all they do is transcribe doctors' handwriting.
Yeah. So in the industry I work in, there's AI products that have taken years to build, and their sole responsibility is to read paper bills from carriers.
Wow.
And so that's all. Like that's actually, I've got a show coming up for that in a month, and I'm actually really interested to see how it's impacting them, because I think that they would have to pivot immediately. And also something I think is that most pieces of software as of right now are antiquated, meaning that if you've been in software development for 20 years building up a product, you got to switch to something that is in line with this, or you're too late.
Yeah,
or you're going to be too late.
No, I mean, I would not even start a business if it wasn't AI, some type of engine behind it being AI. I mean, I'm talking about in tech, right?
Sure.
Because obviously that's where my mind is.
So there are companies that are getting ahead of it. So I've got a couple right here. So Duolingo.
Okay. Duolingo is an app that you can learn another language.
Well, I say everybody knows Duolingo because there's a lot of memes about it. But yeah, so you learn another language. It's on an app on your computer, on your phone. It's gamified to the nth degree. It's fun. I've used it multiple times in
Still
the past.
Don't have Armenian on there.
All I've ever tried is Spanish.
Yeah, me too.
So
I for a while was trying to learn Spanish, and I felt it did a pretty darn good job. This was like 5 years ago.
When I was consistent with it. But then when I stopped being consistent with it and they started threatening me, that's when I kind of got
Hey, that's called gamification at its best.
That's true. But it also brings up the question. So if AI can teach you a language through an app, like what else can AI teach you? But that's for a different time.
Yeah.
Be My Eyes. You ever heard of that app?
I have not.
So Be My Eyes is an accessibility app where people who are visually impaired can get onto the app. If they're out in the world, they can get onto the app, and somebody who can see like what looks at their camera, so they point their camera. And so the example they give you is like, so somebody who's visually impaired is trying to pick the right milk. And they're like, okay, so, and they point at stuff, and then the person's like, this one's expiration date is this, and that, and so on and so forth. And so they pick the one, because there's no way to tell if you're, if you can't see the expiration dates. And then they say, okay, thanks. And then they'll hang up and they'll go.
Okay. But I want to be very clear here. GPT-4 is an engine.
Yeah.
That engine is being used now by other applications.
Right.
One application is ChatGPT. Another one is Duolingo. And then another one is this Be My Eyes.
Right. And so instead of it being a person that you call, it's GPT.
Yeah.
And then GPT contextualizes the situation and tells you what you want to know, because you can literally ask it what you want to know. Like which one of these has the latest expiration date? And it'll tell you.
All right. You've got Stripe on here as another company. And so I think Stripe's the payment service,
but
right?
They're using it from a site support perspective.
Okay.
And so they're automating customer support on their website with it, and it's working out. And so that runs into my territory too.
Yeah. My wife was telling me an example, because now, of course, I'm talking about this all the time at home, and she's a good person to bounce some of these ideas off of what she would understand versus what's in my brain, I guess. And she said she was watching, I think it was ABC News, and they had an example where somebody created a chatbot to talk to another chatbot and and basically it lowers their bills. So they're going on, maybe it's I'll just say Comcast, and they have their internet with them, and they're using a chatbot, and it gets it. So they're basically two chatbots arguing with each other until the bill gets lowered.
Weird.
That is so cool.
I like that.
Yeah, I definitely need that right now. Of course, I'm in that transition to the new house thing, which we're going to talk about new house stuff in the next episode. I'm very excited with home automation, but that to me was very interesting.
So the biggest thing, and potentially the most impactful thing that's changing between 3.5 and 4 is the add-on of plugins.
Okay.
From OpenAI. So OpenAI is creating plugins themselves, and they're allowing third parties to create plugins as well. So like OpenTable, which is a reservation application. what's the Instacart is another one, and then Wolfram Alpha is another one. And Wolfram Alpha is basically like any kind of math you need done, it can do it. It can tell you the exact distance of Jupiter from Earth right now if you ask it. So it's pretty powerful tools. But the two plugins from OpenAI are Browser, so you can go to a website, scrape all the information, and ask it any question you want. And then the other one is going to be Code. It's basically code understanding, but it doesn't. The name is weird compared to what it does. So you can upload data into it, and then you can visualize data from the code and stuff. But then you can also upload MP4s and say, give me the first 5 seconds of the MP4 in a link, and then it'll produce a link. You click on the link, you can download the first 5 seconds, but you can see it code out that first 5 seconds. And then, but you can, basically it's changing the way we're about to do video editing. And so it's going to get really interesting really quick with this type of stuff, because that one, I've barely got my head around it because I don't do development, but it feels like from a coding perspective, that one's going to be really powerful for like reverse engineering stuff.
Yeah. And I went in and played around a little bit with the, where I could bring it into code. So what you do is, there is basically, like I use Python programming. So I went into one of my editors and I can do what's called a pip install. And so PIP install is how you install things into Python. And you can do it for OpenAI. And you can do that. And when you do that, you have to have an API key. You have to have an API key because you have to have a premium account to be able to use that plugin. But once I have that, now I have this engine available to me in some capacity with my code. And so this gives me an incredible transformer.
Like in real time?
Yeah.
Like not you got to go get it from GPT and bring it over. It's in your... It's connected. So an API allows you to connect to something, right?
Yep. And so, yes, it gives you that. Now,
that's cool.
I didn't play enough with it to get something to work, but I have friends that have.
Yeah.
And they're just blown away with what it's able to do. And there's all these other applications. There's a couple out there that I was looking at. Now, I don't know if they're GPT-4 yet. I'm just talking about applications that are using the engine of GPT. And one of them that was really interesting to me was called Humata. HUMATA.ai, and I'm going through our notes all the way at the bottom there. And but what I liked about it was you can upload a PDF, so up to 60 pages for free, and we'll give you a summary.
Oh, you mentioned that.
Yeah, and so for me as a educator, again, I go to this thing where it's like I used to spend when I was getting my PhD 20 hours a weekend reading articles, because by Monday I had to have 100 articles read, because, you had these seminar classes and they were, by the way, incredibly engaging articles.
I'm sure.
A lot of sarcasm there, right?
Yeah. I felt it.
And it's okay if I don't spend those hours, right? Like in the future, is it like, I'm trying to think why is it not okay in society today for me to not spend those 20 hours? And if I was able to get that information in 30 minutes.
Well, I'll play devil's advocate
okay,
if you want me to bite on that.
Because I need it. I want to hear the reasoning.
Okay, so the quality of your output depends on the amount of input you have over time, right? So it's the 10,000 hours in before you're really good at stuff. So if you're gonna read through those articles, you're gonna spend a lot of time like learning to comprehend like a type of language, like a professional language.
Yeah.
And that means a lot to the professional who has to, because if you're gonna do QC on stuff, like there's two different levels. There's the I can make it happen level now, and then there's the QC level when it comes to AI. And so if you're a QC person, you probably have to do that. You probably have to go in, you have to spend the time reading through these things, because you know whether, in some cases, whether something is more factual or if something is being skewed. And that's just right now. Like there could be a point where we just all trust it completely.
Yeah.
But right now we're not there, I don't think. And so I would say that if you're not the QC person, then just do the summarization. But the whole point of getting your PhD means you're top tier and you know everything all the way from the top to bottom.
Yeah, but you know what? That is in theory.
Okay.
Now let's put that into practice.
Okay, so all of mine was in a vacuum then.
Well, but here's reality.
Okay.
I read for 20 hours on a weekend. How much of that was good?
Oh, you mean positive? Okay.
Yeah. And so now, if instead of reading 60 pages, I read 1 page and was engrossed in it, that could be better. Now, here's the difference. I'm also building skills, right? I'm building this investigative quotient in my mind that allows me to become a researcher. And to be able to do that, you have to be able to get all of these different opinions and views and synthesize it down into what I think is correct. Letting AI do that part is negating that. I 100% get that. So it depends on the objective, right? If the objective is I am working and I'm in medicine, and what I need to do is there are 10,000 articles out there about cancer and specifically prostate cancer, let's say.
Sure.
And I need to synthesize that down into what's been done, what hasn't been done, what is the benefits, what are the ramifications. I can go read 10,000 articles, and trust me, there are people that do it. There are websites out there that do their best to be that aid for people. Or I can get that answer from an AI in a day, let's say.
Yeah.
That's different, right?
I had a professor, I mean, that is different for sure, but so I got 2 thoughts now, because I know a professor that used to do that type of reading. Like he was nose deep in articles all day long. Whenever he wasn't teaching, he was reading. And I wonder what he would say about that. But
that's somebody that enjoyed it. I don't know if I enjoyed 20 hours of reading. I'm a data guy, remember?
That's fair.
Yeah.
But when you were doing it though, it was a skill. Like speed, keeping up your speed of reading was a skill that was important. But I guess from the perspective of like you start to understand a tone when you read the entire thing. But I think you make a good point in that it's like you just don't need to do it as much. Well,
and I'll give you a little bit of inside baseball on this. I never read the article. Here's what I did. I read the introduction. I skimmed the lit review for anything that I thought would be good, because all research papers are intro, lit review, methodology, results, discussion, conclusion. All of them, same thing. So I would go through that. I would barely touch the methodology because I could tell by the tables that were created what the methodology was. I didn't need them to tell me if they were doing regression when I see the regression output at the end, but I had to get to a certain level where I was good enough to do that. I understand that part. That is important.
I'm glad you're acknowledging that, because I was about to
that
track
is learning. Yes, you can there. It took me a year or 2 to get to that point. You're exactly right. Now I could not have done that if I was using Humata. But then I loved the discussion. I mean, the results were always in table form and then in text form. You don't need to read any of the results if it's a good table. And most articles, good research papers, the tables were the results. Yeah. So I can read columns and rows very well. And so I could get through that really quick. Then I poured myself into the discussion looking for theoretical implications, practical implications, and conclusions were worthless. Those are just, hey, I'm at the end. Congratulations, you made it this far. Yeah. But the discussion was really where I read that. And that would be so I would take a 20-page paper and I would get down to reading 2 of the pages in depth, and everything else was skimmed. And so I could take those 100 papers or whatever and get that down pretty good. So I was my own AI engine back in the day.
Yeah, you were a paper reading machine.
I was, and I will still to this day be that. And do I miss tone? Do I miss some other stuff? Yeah, but you know what? Probably, yeah. I don't hear bias, a lot of times. Maybe sometimes in the discussion, but when you miss out on, do I really know if they've missed some of the lit review stuff and things like that? Maybe, if I really know that area well. But to be honest, at this point, I just want to know the results and the implications.
So if you were going to be, a major professor, somebody going through the same thing right now, would you change your approach to how much they had to read? Or have you already done something like that?
If I was talking to somebody, well, I will say this. I'm noticing the newer PhDs coming out, the ones I'm interacting with are struggling writing. They're struggling to write papers.
Creatively?
Yeah, to create their own research.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what that is. Maybe it's just because I'm in a little bit different space where I'm more with the data people, where I was more with business people early on that could write. Mm-hmm. So maybe it's just I'm in a different space, but I'm seeing a little bit of that, and I'm wondering if something different is but even these last couple of years, it's hard to judge anybody that came out of school with COVID.
Oh yeah, that's
it
true.
just changed everything. But
that's a whole different subject, though.
Yeah, we don't want to get to. All right, so is there anything? I'm fascinated with how in 2 weeks everything's changed, and so when we say 6 months from now, I just keep thinking about all the use cases that'll be coming up. Is there, before we get to anything above and beyond, are there any other changes that we should be aware of?
Well, I did want to talk about an example of like how these plugins can impact everyday life.
Okay, go for it.
So, as I said earlier, OpenTable, Instacart, and Wolfram Alpha are plugins that are available. Not to us yet, but soon they will be.
Sure.
And so, what you can do is you can prompt it to, like say you had a friend come to town and they're vegetarian, like you. And so I want to go somewhere out to eat on Friday, and then on Saturday I want to cook a meal. And so I can tell 4.0 with the plugins, give me a recommendation for a dinner at this price range or whatever criteria you have for Friday, and then Saturday give me the recipes and the recipe and ingredients for a meal that fits these criteria, like vegetarian, lots of broccoli, whatever you want.
All right, I get broccoli.
And then
I'm a big fan. I am a big fan. I do get excited about broccoli, folks.
I do. Broccoli's good.
Yeah.
But so the first thing it'll do is it'll pull up a OpenTable thing for all the restaurants available. You can choose, and it'll go as far as it can as far as reserving things, but you may have to go in and do it yourself too. But then it'll go to Instacart, or it'll give you the list of things you need to buy and pull up Instacart. And then it'll give you a link to click, and you just click that link and it pulls up Instacart with a full cart, and then you just check out. And then everything gets sent to you. And
now,
so
are you saying that happened is that happening in Wolfram Alpha right now? Or is that something that could happen?
Well, so to tag on, because I did forget about Wolfram, but to tag on, you can say, and give me the caloric values of everything as well. And so Wolfram will come in and say, okay, here's all the ingredients, here's the calories, here's what it'll be once the meal is complete. And then the portion should be, X amount of ounces that equal this many calories.
And if you are somebody that you feel it's taking the fun out of it, right? Because I think what we have to come up with, and this goes into the evolution of where we are today with AI, we're not trying to take your fun away. Like if you enjoy experimenting with food or going out to new places and having no idea what your experience is going to be, go.
That's a really good point.
But if you're just somebody that it's like, I'm not an experimenter. When I go to a town, my daughter, we are planning to go to Armenia at some point. And she's already given us a 2-week itinerary with where we're going to eat every day.
Your daughter did this?
Yes.
Sweet.
So she wants to research it way in advance.
Yeah.
My wife would be like, let's show up. And if there's a place right to our right, we're going to go there first.
That's how I am.
Yeah, and I'm with my daughter.
I like going on vacations with them, but I'm not them.
I love the fact I will use Yelp like crazy before I go to any town.
Cool.
Any town. And I'm with you. If I knew somebody was coming into town that had allergies or something like that, I would want to do that research. And to be honest, I'd rather do it in 2 minutes than 20 minutes.
Oh, same here. It's something that's courteous to do, but I'm not personally into it. That's how I feel about grocery shopping. It's like I don't feel it's courteous. I have to do it.
Yeah.
But I don't like that part of it. And so if I can streamline that in any way possible and reduce my amount of time, because my process right now is well, when I had a kitchen and when I get it back, would be to decide what I want to eat, which is, it's its own kind of difficulty. But
Sure.
I can lean into GPT for that now too. It's just like I feel like a pasta and then this and then give me the list and all that kind of stuff. But I would have to do that, and then I would have to determine the ingredients that we have versus what we need, and then go get them, and then do all the rest of that stuff. But I could just tell GPT to come up with 5 meals that fit these criteria. And then I'm I could just come up and do that, keep that same prompt, and every week I go grocery shopping, I just do that. And then so that's a real time automation type thing that to your point, it saves money, and that's great. But the thing I like most about what you said is that it's not about taking away your fun. If you like doing it, do it the way you like doing it.
I think that's where we are today. And so let's get into this idea of the evolution of game-changing technologies. Okay. And I think this is really important to talk about this. And then let's go back to your grocery store example, I think, because that's a great one to think about. So when we think of the evolution of any new technology, you go back to even just the phone in the early days, or the internet, or literally the home computer, and you can keep going back throughout time. When you discover something new, what ends up happening in the beginning is there's all of these tools that are just silly, right? And so AI right now is creating art from, like, I did it this morning. I wanted to create a bulldog with sunglasses on that looked like a Miami Vice style. All right, that's what I created. I used Midjourney from that one YouTuber that you showed me. Was it Matt Wolf?
Matt Wolf.
Great stuff. And so I have a Discord account. I set it up, and I went ahead and did it. And it was cute and it was adorable.
Did you do one of the free ones?
I'm on the free one right now, and I had to go into the newbie section and all that stuff. But I think I'm going to be spending some money there.
It comes up with really good stuff.
Oh my gosh! But it's what am I going to? So basically, I created a bulldog picture with glasses. Congratulations! It's cute. That a lot of times is what you see in the beginning of these. We're trying to figure things out, so we do things that delight us.
Well, we also do things that we personally do. And so everybody's got a different perspective. And so everybody's trying a little bit of something.
Yeah.
So one of the things that, from our perspective, like we need to up our thumbnail game for our internet posts.
Yeah.
And we can do that with Midjourney.
Charlie doesn't like how I do our thumbnails. I see how he's ripping me right on.
They're great, but they don't.
They are the quickest way for me to get them done.
Yeah, exactly. So they're a maintenance, but we could make it pop and put less effort into it overall. Yeah,
no, and so if we could use some AI to help us, because one thing that we run into doing this as a side job that makes no money is time. And so we want to do the fun stuff, but all the other stuff that comes with it, if we can automate it, that'll be great. And so I think that then leads into usually the second stage. You start to see menial tasks go away. With the personal computer, we started tracking our stuff in a spreadsheet or in a computer, and it being stored in one place as opposed to everything being paper. When you had your phone, think about what that was allowed to do. Once the iPhone, when that became a game changer. We don't even remember phone numbers anymore. I have no idea what your phone number is, Charlie. You're Charlie Yielding on my phone.
Same. But I do have a good example of what you're talking about, like how cell phones change things, because it essentially pushed all, just in the banking industry alone, like it pushed everything online. And so I know people who didn't engage with technology, in the early aughts and just didn't worry about it, and tech kept on growing and growing. They're having to manually go to the bank every week because they don't know how to remote deposit.
Very true.
And that's hours.
Yes. Yeah, it's menial tasks.
Hours of business time.
What do you need? Now, if you're somebody that's just like, I love going to the bank because Mary is my teller and I love having a conversation with Mary. That's my dad too. My dad loved going to Comerica Bank in downtown Detroit and seeing somebody specifically. The customer service was worth it. He wasn't going there to deposit checks. He was going there for customer service and interaction with the human being, that kind of stuff.
That's cool.
I actually was at a lunch this week with a couple of people from Regions Bank, and I bank with Regions. Actually, we both are Regions customers, I think. And I was with them because I met them and they're really interested in the data for good stuff. And so they said, if you have a bad experience at one of our branches, let us know because we will be happy to make sure that. And I'm like, I haven't been in a branch in years, and because that's where we are today.
Apart from when we went.
Well, when you set up an account, they make you go
us,
and
they make us.
Well, and that's a good thing. But you should be in person to create an account.
I don't know.
You know what? In a year, we may not. It may be that quick, the
That's
change.
True. Or as Paul says, 6 months.
6 months. I think in 6 months, we're still going to have to go sit in that lobby and if we're going to open up a new account. But we don't have to go there to deposit a check, or to do other things. It can be done in other places. So you go from delightful and cute and adorable type things. We've seen it in the NFTs. We've seen it in blockchain. We've seen it in all of these other ones as well. And now it gets to some of the low-level tasks that we don't even realize has made our life easier. Like again, going to banking, the fact I don't have to write checks anymore is a game changer. I don't even think about. I actually put tasks in my task management system just to let me know that something's being auto-paid, just so I can look to make sure that it actually worked.
That is a good idea.
Yeah. I don't actually pay bills, but I do like to know when they're paid.
Well, it helps you keep up with what subscriptions you actually have.
Yes.
And that's, where do you keep up with that?
Well, you know how I use TickTick as my task management? In there is one called Finance. And every one of my automated ones, on the day that it goes out of my account, I have it to say auto pay and water.
Okay, I'm straight up stealing that from you.
Good. Everybody steal that. I think everybody should know when something comes out of their bank account, right? And I can go in there and look for next month and say, oh, on the 25th, that's coming out of my account.
Yeah,
I just want to I want to look at the bill to make sure that that water bill isn't $10,000.
That's true. You get used to the number, like you get used to the whole thing. So it's visibility in a very easy way.
Yeah,
I like that.
Now let's go back to the next thing is things that usually matter to you in a more that's more substantial than just writing checks. And I think going to the grocery store is one of those, or just the daily errands. And how those have kind of gone away. You think about I needed a screwdriver. I didn't go to the hardware store to get it. I literally went on Amazon and it was delivered the next day.
Okay.
I wanted my daughter. Right now, my daughter and I are living in our house in Nashville. And gosh, I love my daughter. She's so much like me, and she's so regimented and loves this idea of planning. So every Saturday or Sunday, she's got the Amazon cart and says, "What do you want to add?" She also knows that I'm the one paying for it if it's the Amazon cart. So that very very smart daughter. But we don't. How many times do you buy groceries online versus going in person?
Me personally?
Yes.
I've never bought groceries online.
Never bought groceries online? During the pandemic?
Went with masks.
Whoa.
Well, so I personally have never done it. Becky did it some. So one of the things...
You like going then?
It's not that I just never... I don't trust the produce you get from online ordering, and I like my produce to be a specific way. But we have recently talked about... So here's the change that's about to happen once the kitchen's done. Because I haven't bought groceries in 6 months.
Yeah, because you don't have a place to put them.
No, I don't. But soon.
Yes. Charlie's going through a major redo of the house, renovation.
Yeah, and the kitchen is gone. But when we go back, we're going to buy all of the non-perishables, whatever it's called. Including milk, and because milk's, as long as it's sealed, it's fine. Sure. And then we're just going to go for bread and fruit, basically.
Okay.
And so
bread, you really need to go to bread. Like now, do you need to go and physically see bread?
Yes.
You do.
Yeah, you gotta touch it.
You touch your bread?
Yeah, just to poke it a little bit. If it's stale, it's not good. That
is true. I don't eat bread, so it's not I don't. And
I've talked to the people at Kroger that do the shopping and stuff, and I'm like, do you guys ever do you poke it and stuff? Like essentially that type of question. They're just like, nope, grab it and go. And I'm like, oh, it's fine. It was awesome, and it is awesome, and it's going to save me a lot of time once this is done. But I do know, I know people on the other side of it who love being in the grocery store. Like my best friend is all about the grocery store, and he goes every day.
I love the grocery store. I don't go anymore.
Well, do you miss it?
I do. I do notice I don't. I want to get back to picking my own vegetables. Things like that. I think that is. There's this thing about you gathering your own food a little bit, but because I had that 2 hours of commuting a day, there was no going to the grocery store.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. Do you think you filled that time with other stuff, apart from the commute, to where it made it to where it was hard to get to the grocery store if you ever felt like going?
I literally in my mind would say, I don't have an hour to go do that.
Okay.
And you know what? That to me was wrong in some cases, because it could have been something that is delightful, putting in some earbuds and going into the grocery store. Now I'm not a big fan of going to like a Kroger or a Publix. Not saying that they're bad. It's just I like going to more of the boutique-y places. Like I'd rather go to a Whole Foods, a Sprouts, where you're seeing the organics. You're seeing things that are a little bit different. Of course, remember being vegetarian, I'm not going there for the meat and things, and so they have to have alternative type stuff.
What about Trader Joe's? Is that good enough?
So I don't go to Trader Joe's only because you can never park there.
That is true.
And it is a hassle. My daughter loves Trader Joe's. It's her favorite place. So, and I think that's one that I would enjoy going into more. It's not close to where I live. And therefore that means I'd have to travel 20 minutes, try to find parking to go into a store to get something where I could just go online and it'll be there tomorrow morning.
Yeah. It is more of a neighborhood store for sure.
Yeah. So that idea of AI taking over a little bit. See, I was in your camp on the produce. Okay. And then I realized it really wasn't that much different when somebody else picked it.
I could probably be swayed. My wife, maybe not though.
Yeah. Now there's a couple of things like bananas. I mean, you really got to screw up if you pick bad bananas, right?
That's true, but we get a lot of strawberries.
Strawberries are a tough one. Blueberries, I can let somebody else buy me blueberries. You're right. There's a couple of things. Apples are hit or miss. I could
take apples, I think, because I don't care about bruises that much. Yeah. I don't like it when the skin is like torn up, but anyways, we're
I know but we're not. We're going in the right direction because the next evolution of that is from that convenience. Are we going to allow AI to make the decision for us? Like you said, we could take a picture of our pantry and say, I want to cook Italian on Tuesday. What do I need? And it can bring it up into Instacart at that moment, and then we could have it delivered.
Well, see, I think you got your steps off, though, because I think the first thing you do is take an inventory of everything you got through pictures, and then you tell it to build an inventory for you, and then make you the shopping list every week based off of
but somebody else. All right, so somebody else is making the shopping list for you.
The GPT is.
Yes.
Yeah. Like no, I'm all into it. So So I'm gonna have an inventory of my kitchen completely. It's gonna be easy too because as I put stuff in, I can just.
So what's an inventory? Does that mean 3 cans of garbanzo beans?
Everything I've got that can be food is going to be on a list that GPT has access to, or that I can just put into GPT.
Do you use an app for your shopping list right now?
My grocery list I just put into to do, but I'll probably just create an Excel spreadsheet of the things I'm putting into the kitchen, or if I get because I can't do the photos yet, but if I get access to that, I'll just do the snapshots and tell it to make an inventory for me.
I use
make a CSV file of everything you just saw.
Oh, and then I can import it in and do. Yeah, I'm with you. I use something called AnyList as my grocery thing, and it's really nice. And I got a feeling it's going to connect to a GPT back engine here.
And that connects to an inventory?
Yes. So basically, it allows me to create my own list. I can import in recipes and things like that. But more importantly, all I do is I share it with my wife. And so she puts things on the list, I put things on the list, and then we can go to the store, that kind of thing. So we still do go to the store every now and then, but you can create any list, hence the name. So we'll create one for going to Home Depot just as easily. So, but wouldn't that be great if that list that you're talking about could be in any list, and then that generates and automatically either creates the list for you or creates the shopping cart in Instacart or through...
That's my intent. My intent is to have a point in time on a Sunday where I sit down and go through a 5-minute process, and it builds out everything I need, and then orders the stuff except for the bread or the fruit. And then I just go to the store for bread and fruit. So I get some of the grocery store. Wow. And then maybe on weeks where I just don't have the time, then I tell it to get everything. Maybe, do some data gathering on the kind of bread and fruit that they send us. Gotcha.
So, all right. So we get to a point now, we've gone from cute and adorable applications to ones that save us a couple of minutes, ones that are actually a game changer in terms of our lives. Mm-hmm. Then a lot of times, if it becomes a real technology, it is something that transforms our lives.
It transforms it because it reduces stress, alleviates the pressure of some types of chores. And it's
and even to take it a step further, it eliminates jobs, it eliminates industries. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where we are with AI. I mean, we're talking about like transcription companies are gone. There's things that are going to be gone in the beginning. Mm-hmm. And then what is it? Where are we seeing things? I get that it's a game changer in 6 months. Now, I want to know about what is the game changer in 5 years? Are we going to get to a point where climate change is going to be actually achievable? I want to be optimistic here. And I actually just read an article about Bill Gates where he's talking about, let's not think about just cute pictures today. What is the actual future based on these engines or artificial intelligence?
So the only thing that I have thought about is like what type of person will be the most successful in 5 years. And I think it has less to do with your deep technical skills and more in your generality.
Okay.
But you do have to have an affinity to use tools to accomplish whatever it is that you need to do. And I feel like that's going to be completely and totally game changing culturally, because our culture is just not set up to handle everybody being able to accomplish a whole lot.
The skills that we will need will be different. Mm-hmm. We will not need to be the data gatherers that we used to have to be. Mm-hmm. Problem solving will be different. Problem solving will be the ability to connect different dots together, as opposed to just creating my shopping list.
Well, we will all be artificially smarter and more capable.
Yes. Do you think, in the past, we've gone from writing checks every day, going to the grocery store, but we're busier than ever. Mm-hmm. If we are I keep thinking, well, wouldn't it be great if instead of those 4 hours I just saved, to actually spend that with my family? Mm-hmm. Are we going to do that? Or are we going to just become busier and busier?
Well, that's what I was asking you earlier. Like, when you found the time, what did you do with it?
And that hurts, right? It's because what ends up happening is I fill it with more work because our metrics are wrong, right? Our metrics are activity equals productivity instead of impact equaling productivity.
I think that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
It's like, so mind share is going to have a lot more impact in the future. Yeah. And it's all about like, what can you learn and what do you understand in a way that, like, I can understand the concepts of programming a lot better than I can program. And if I can do that and I know some of the basic vocabulary, I can write code. Like, I can build my own websites now. And I haven't even done anything.
Yep, and you can create your own little applications. There's one, what was it, dbuild.io, I think, or .co, dbuild.co. You can it's a website builder right now where you can create advanced applications using GPT behind the scenes, and you just say, create me an application that allows me to enter 3 personal things and give me a happy score.
Yeah,
and it'll do that, and that bothers people. That bothers the people that do that for a living.
Yeah, for sure. That means if you're a developer right now, lean heavy into QC while you can, and try to figure out how to do the development in a different way.
learn how to apply things, right? Instead of just being the code monkey kind of thing. The medial task, it's already happened in accounting. Accounting software does the work. So what are you adding? What you're doing is you're taking what somebody has done, putting it into a computer, but then your value needs to go above and beyond entering it into a software program.
Well, there's several data science teams that with people I talk to that have started. They started leaning into it cautiously in the beginning, but now they're just full on using it full time.
Yeah, and I think that's value,
using it, meaning GPT.
Yes.
Yeah.
Value over activity or expertise. If we can change the way we think of, like, your personal status shouldn't be based on the fact that you're working 14 hours a day.
Yeah.
Right.
You shouldn't. Nothing. The barricades to pursue whatever makes you happy have just gotten a lot shorter.
Yeah.
And so you can still put in that time pretty easily, but is it put into what you really like to do as opposed to what you're forced to do because you need a paycheck to pay for this, that, or the other thing?
Yeah.
And so I think it's going to be freeing to anybody who's willing to, do stuff on their own.
Gotcha.
And then it's going to be impactful for people who just want to use it to make every little bit of their lives better, or just this, or just that.
Yeah. All right. So we've talked about this for a little bit of time here. I do want to do like a wrap up and want to just make the point of there's not only one engine out there today. We've only been talking about GPT-4 today and 3.5. That is an engine. There are other engines. Google has theirs. They use isn't it Bard? Bard. And I know they have BERT is their natural language processing one. I'm pretty sure. There's one. There's probably if you were to get a list of pretty advanced ones, there's going to be a good list of about 10 different engines that are out there right now. You'll hear things like Stable Diffusion and how that's built on a different model than GPT-4. There are different ones out there. There's ones in the music industry that work differently. So there's all these different engines out there. We are seeing the most advancements right now with GPT, and especially with this newest version, GPT-4.
Yeah.
The cars or the tools that are out there are being used by these different engines. So you may not know what engine is behind the scenes. A lot of them are going to be GPT related, 3.5 or 4. And we've mentioned some of those being Duolingo, Stripe. A lot of chat bots out there are going to be probably the engine behind those will be GPT. And then, of course, what we're seeing mostly in terms of cars or tools is ChatGPT. And that's where we are today. Now, how are we going to use these engines and these newly created tools or cars in the future is really what we're talking about here at the end, right?
Yeah, and how impactful it's going to be to just how we approach life.
So if you were to bring it back to you, Charlie, because everything revolves around Charlie Yielding, folks, what is the one thing in the next year that you would love AI to take over for you or to help you with?
Writing.
That's an easy one, right? Because it's already there.
Well, it just got to the point to where it can write as big as I want it to, because I don't care about using it for small blogs or anything. Yeah. It's neat. Like it's neat writing games with it. But like I do think it's going to empower me to do some things that I haven't done before.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm ready to write because I've got all these personal thoughts I want to get on paper. I want them to be my personal thoughts first. I've got this idea of all the stuff that I've gone through this journey with the way I think of data, and I really want it to be my personal touch first. But after that, I'm good to throw all of my personal stuff into something and see what comes out.
Yeah.
So I'm not ready yet. Like I'm not.
What are you ready for though?
That's a great question. I think mine goes to productivity in some way. I'd love to see the ability to help. I just don't know what it is. I say productivity. I don't know if it's plan smarter in terms of my day.
I think I know what you mean. Like you're just trying to find the efficiencies you can so you can choose what you want to do rather than, run, because you hustle. Like you do a lot of stuff. And
I do a lot of stuff. And the part that I struggle with the most is time management in the day.
Well, I mean, that's because you need 30 hours in a day to accomplish everything you do if you want breaks and stuff. But since you don't have breaks, you just go back to back. And it seems like you have a lot of big days.
I have a lot of big days. I, for complete transparency, I was like, Charlie, I don't know if I'm ready for today, because I have gone from 5 to 9 every day this week, and now a lot of it is family too. My son, by the way, his game last night. I left a data hackathon. We had a data hackathon at Fisk University with Belmont University and a bunch of other people here in Nashville on social justice. It was amazing. Our good friends Lena Winfrey and Holly Rachel were the ones that led that. They're the founders of Blacks in Tech here in Nashville. And we just had an amazing experience. I left it early to go watch my son play, and he went 4 for 4 yesterday.
Nice.
And his team beat a team that they haven't beaten in like 5 years, 14-7.
Awesome.
And it was one thing that was really funny is he hit a ball, and it was really high in the air, and everybody thought it was foul. It ended up landing fair, the left field line, by about an inch.
Did it come back in?
It came back in like crazy, like to the point where he's still standing at home plate. It landed 2 feet from the fence. So if it would have gone 2 more feet, it could have literally, or it had been more than 2 feet, let's say 10 feet, it could have been a home run. It would have been his first in high school. But the whole time he's staring at it because he thought for sure it was foul, and ended up only getting a single. It was the longest single definitely of the year. But that was a lot of fun. But no, I think everything comes back to time management. I also think I am a product of this. Some of my worth is my activity. Yeah. Like people, everybody knows me as the guy that works all the time.
Yeah. No, I get it. Hitting the brakes feels like you're not maximizing or being productive as you could be, and that hurts.
Yeah. And to get over that is a personal problem. I'd love for our kids to not feel like they need to, their self-worth shouldn't be 50 to 60 hours of work a week. And maybe this new generation is going to embrace the fact that AI is going to make it where when their 40 hours are up, they're up, and then they can hopefully.
You mean 30 hours?
30 hours.
32 hours.
Yeah. We're going to 32 hour work.
That is, so from an impact perspective, I think the 30-hour work week is more possible now than ever.
Why not? Right? Why should, honestly, do we actually get work done on a Friday? You really think about it. And you hear about there's all these studies out there about the 4-day work week is more productive than the 5-day work week. I'm in on that. I'm with you. I'd love to be able to think that way. I think the idea of how AI can change little things to bigger things to pivotal changes in the way we do things is going to happen.
It is happening.
And it's already happened, including analyzing big, comprehensive data effectively. Fosters, I'm going into that incredible prompt that you came up with, where the importance of data going from A to Z. That is amazing. There's no way. I did ask, like little things, like I said, how many home runs have ever been hit in major leagues? And he instantly says, I can't tell you the exact number, because remember, it's a reasoning engine.
Yeah.
But here's what it was, and it has a 58, and it's more than 58,000. And I'm drawing a blank on it, but it said, if you want to know the real answer, go to MLB.com.
Oh, okay.
It did actually say that. And I was like, wow. I don't know if it's on there, but it was, just very interesting to think about how when you have a question, what used to take an hour to try to find in Google sometimes.
Yeah, it used to take effort.
Yes. And now a question, and I have a being with me that makes it easier. It's so much better. Charlie, what else do we want to hit with this? I got a feeling we're going to do this another 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean,
when GPT-5 comes out.
It seems like this will be common, because as we see things change, and as we see, because we've made some pretty bold predictions about companies failing and things like that, but that is going to happen. And so I'm sure we'll need to keep up with it as it goes, because even if it doesn't go from 4 to 5 or any kind of like material update or anything like that, it's still going to continuously impact culture.
Oh, because of the new tools or the new cars that are coming out. The engine can be used for a while before we get to that point. I mean, I think a good way of thinking about this podcast is it's really not data for all, it's AI for all. Because everything that we're going to everything that's data in the future is going to have an artificial intelligence component to it.
Yeah.
I mean, data in education. How are we going to talk about that in the future? It's AI in education in terms of the news. With when we had Jennifer Duck on, I mean that is amazing to think about data in the news, but it's really AI in the news today because everything is the new. I mean, 90% of what we read in probably the next 6 months is going to be AI generated.
Yeah.
And so there's so much we've got a lot of things that'll be great topics in the future for this. Obviously, we're not going to run out of things. So yeah, I'm excited for the future. I'm still at the gimmicky stage, right? I like making pictures of bulldogs with sunglasses. There's a couple of ones where next month's going to be bulldog in sunglasses running in a meadow with maybe we'll go Salvador Dali style. I don't know. Maybe we'll do that. That'll be my next gimmicky one. So I'm still in the gimmicky stage.
So anybody still listening at this point that has access to any kind of image generation AI, take that prompt, make the coolest thing you possibly can, and then share it with us.
Oh, I love it for sure. All right. Well, Charlie, again, last parting shots.
I'm just like you. I'm excited about being a part of all of this, like sudden and immediate change. It's super exciting in a way that I haven't felt like this in a while. Like it is like when smartphones started really like catching hold and things started to change. And how many generations get this kind of change multiple times in their lives?
And what I'm excited about, honestly, is that we're talking about it today, and I'm going to listen to this podcast in a year, in 2 years, and say how silly we sounded because we have no idea where things have gone.
Yeah, for sure.
That is amazing to me. All right. Well, great topic. Charlie, it's good when sometimes it's just you and I. This is always fun it gives us the opportunity to dive deep into this. And so today was about understanding really what is GPT versus the tools that are out there. So the engine versus the car. And so with that, folks, hopefully this helped you get a little bit of insight into the differences, some of the applications, and where things are going in the future. And so with that, my name's Charlie Apigian.
And I'm Charlie Yilden.
And until next time.